Welcome in, everybody, to Mindset. I am Brad Barrett. As always, we have producer Jared Bear.
I am
J-Rod.
Jared.
Going right into it.
We're going right
we
into
didn't
it.
even.
I know,
okay.
right today. Miss Kira. She's graduated from the lovely Kira to Miss Kira.
Oh.
Congrats.
We got a good one today.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
We're going to talk about, I can't even say this word, extreme frugality. It's a real thing. Frugalness, being frugal. But we're going to talk about this today because it's actually something that as a financial advisor, I talk about in our practice because believe it or not, there is an extreme to this. Like, it's good to be mindful about your money, understanding, not taking on too much debt, spending within your means. Yes, but there's also this aspect, a very psychological one studied around extreme frugality.
Question is, can you be extremely frugal? Will it help you get wealthy faster?
And that is kind of the theme for today.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people think that. And my answer, which I'll explain today, so stay tuned to the end because there's actually a real answer to this, but my answer at the top of the show is it depends. And I think for that today, we're going to use Warren Buffett as our case study. Many people know him. He's very famous for being a very well-known billionaire. He's equally as famous for being extremely frugal. So we're going to talk about this idea of extreme frugality, whether it is actually a wealth builder or if it's a life destroyer. And so we're going to talk about the context between these two.
Yeah, it's interesting to see because, he is so rich. Like, you want to emulate, like, what are these rich people doing? How can I do it too? And people are doing this, and it might not be achieving what they want to achieve. So let's start up with who is Warren Buffett?
Warren Edward Buffett.
Oh, my God.
Warren Edward, wow.
Is a U.S. investor, philanthropist, and business magnate. Is that a word?
Magnate.
It is.
Magnate. Who chairs and runs Berkshire Hathaway Incorporated, and his net worth alone exceeds $146 billion.
And what's, for those that don't know, what's Berkshire Hathaway?
Berkshire Hathaway it's a fund now, and it was started by him and his partner, Charlie Munger. And they basically have acquired, he's well known to be, he was like the original activist investor in the sense of like he owned major shares of companies, Coca-Cola, a bunch of different ones. And so Berkshire Hathaway has then gone into, they have a whole host of things, gone into real estate, a whole bunch of stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So back to him, there's some interesting facts that I like about him. This guy's, kind of I don't want to say savant, but this is in his blood. Bought his first stock at 11, first real estate at 14, filed his first tax return at 13.
Kind of gangster.
So he's,
Yeah.
this is a guy I think you want to follow, see what he's doing.
100%. But there's also a stat on there, I don't know if you guys have in your research, but he didn't become an actual billionaire until he was like 60-something years old. People need to understand that, and this is really important as a first topic on this when it comes to frugality or just investing life in general. You have to understand this takes time. I know it sounds super cliche from a wealth manager talking about this, where time in versus timing is a big factor for your investments, but it's true. Even guys like this. And he also had a crazy discipline about his investing, which, by the way, is one of the characteristics in extreme frugality, is this idea of insane self-control and discipline. Was I right on the stat?
He became a millionaire at 32 and a billionaire at 56.
Okay, so I was close, right?
So we talk about Warren Buffett's extreme frugalness, and I want to give a couple examples for those who don't know. We just have said it a couple times.
Yeah.
So some things that struck me, he famously buys breakfast at McDonald's, choosing cheaper options when the market is down. These prices might be out of date, but the cheap dollar menu things on McDonald's.
Yeah.
For years, he used a basic flip phone.
Yep.
And I just have mad respect for that.
It's kind of G. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He drives older, well-maintained cars. I think he's known for that, for flying coach instead of, first class and things like that. I love this one. Early on, he allegedly, converted a dresser drawer into a bassinet for his first child and borrowed a crib for his second.
Okay.
I love the ingenuity.
Yeah.
And the savings, but that's the level we're talking when Warren Buffett is when we're talking about extreme
Let's use that as an example,
because
I think that's a decent discussion point for everyone out there, and we're talking about this. Like this idea of extreme versus not extreme.
Yeah.
Okay, I have 2 kids. Would I put them in a drawer? Granted, I'm sure the drawer was open. You see what I'm saying? I'm assuming.
No.
So
space saving, just push it in. Yeah.
But here's my point. Like someone could say, I think there's subjectiveness to this word extreme. Like to him, that was, and this it's funny. And I hope Jeff follows this. My father-in-law is so this way. Like we call it dumpster diving. He'll find stuff and he'll reuse stuff, and it's so like He gets a true high on it. Like we just built my kids a little fort with this is the example of his. We had 2 extra 2x4s, okay, from a project we were doing. And with that, he said, I can't waste these 2 extra 2x4s. So we went and built a fort, which then we had to go buy like 8 more 2x4s, another plank, you know what I mean? And I'm kind of like, all because we didn't want to like waste 2 2x4s that were just left over from another project.
I have a bucket full of 2x4 cutoffs.
But they come in handy.
In my garage.
They come in handy.
That if, like, I have actual projects built out of scrap wood.
They come in. We use it all the time. Now, my point, but the Buffett analogy, right? Someone would look at that and be like, "Oh man, look, I know you may not have been well off at that time when you had your first kid, but you can put some value into some things like getting your kid a bassinet." But like, if you get it loaned to you, like this is what I'm talking about. This is my whole idea of value proposition. I think anyone who has extreme frugality can relate to this, right? There's value propositions here. Do you understand what I mean by that? Mm-hmm. Like what you might value that you'll spend money on, I may not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so this idea of frugality, he's also been famously known for he eats the same, not just the breakfast, he eats like the same meal. I think he actually lived in his first house, even when he became a millionaire and up to billionaire, it's the whole time.
Famously, what's it?
Right?
Omaha or something like you bought for like 30,
that's, he's the if you don't know, his nickname's the Oracle of Omaha.
Oracle of Omaha.
And they have,
I like that one.
I like that.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So did this extreme frugalness that apparently started quite early, did that help him get these first millions? Maybe?
So I'll answer that.
That's what we're going to be
Okay. Now, before we get into that though, I want to talk about the psychology of this though, because this has to do with the mindset.
The mindset.
It does. And so hear me out. I'm going to answer that here. That's the whole thesis of today's show. But like, there's a ton of psychology that goes into a characteristic of a person being extremely frugal. The American Psychiatric Association defines frugality as a symptom of obsessive compulsive personality disorder. We know this is OCD. Yeah. It's a form of this, okay? So it's when someone adopts a miserly spending style toward both self and others. So this is a big factor I talk about when it comes to marriages and relationships, right? Because if someone has this, right, it affects them and it will also affect the people that they're loving on. Spouse, kids, people around them that they're taking care of.
Yeah, because most of these are major lifestyle things that deeply affect your everyday.
Now that's the psychiatric side of things is studied. I actually want to kind of bring this into like a real life thing for all of us that I have leaned on and learned from my clients over 20 plus years of doing this is, again, there's a characteristic in this. And this starts the answering of the question is, does extreme frugality build wealth? Or does it destroy people around you in your life and just living out of like meekness and not actual like purpose? Okay. To me, it's a 2-step process. It's kind of like my conversation about paying off debt, right? Everyone's like, oh, I paid off debt. Great. Are you going to stay out of debt? The only way to do that is to provide some discipline. And it's a 2-punch process here. It's the same thing here. If you have this, and if you're extreme frugality and you have this OCD, first off, I think it's really important that you talk through this with somebody because there are counseling environments here because this doesn't just come out of thin air. This is a behavioral and also likely a circumstantial situation. Being mindful of money and being frugal, let's use that word, and just minding what you're spending, but what you're doing with the money that you're saving by not doing said thing is really where the wealth happens. So for example, my father-in-law, who I talk to all the time, is one of my best buddies, love the man to death. He and I joke about this all the time. He was raised on a ranch, not a lot of money, and he has that built into his DNA. He's the kind of guy that will literally drive 5 miles to a gas station because it was 3 cents cheaper, not realizing and understanding the logic behind that is that I just wasted that 3 cents in mileage to get to that station.
Right.
And we joke about it, but it's a wiring. It's not something he can really change. We talk about it, we joke about it, but it's just how I'm wired. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, what his case was, and he did create some really great wealth for himself, especially where he came from, because by saving those pennies, dollars, hundreds, thousands, or whatever it is over the lifetime, he then invested it. He did wise choices and took some risk on in areas that he felt he had control in. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So like if you are in the camp of extreme frugality, that alone is not going to build you wealth. Okay. That has to be coupled with the idea that, hey, I don't want to spend here because that's not a value to me. Like my example of gas, like, yeah, whatever it might be, like a subscription. We just found out earlier that J-Rod doesn't have ESPN, which I thought was crazy.
Which I think more and more people.
Is that true, world? I mean, I didn't know
less and less have
like
ESPN.
Channel 206 on DirecTV for me is like in the background always. It must be old school.
Who has DirecTV though? Are you have DirecTV?
Yeah.
What?
No, is that not a thing?
Seriously, let's talk.
I'm also outdated there too.
Yeah.
Wait, is that like a dish? Like you have a dish?
Yeah.
The young person doesn't even know what a dish is. That you still have.
No, I know what
gosh.
that is.
It's just something my wife and I have had forever, and so it's just we're used to it. We know
I just
the
didn't even know
controls.
that you could buy those anymore.
Like older people have like cable and dishes.
Okay.
Like-
Well, let's.
Like at the retirement home, they still have the DirecTV or
no, my
cable.
grandparents don't even have that anymore.
Oh,
Okay. Well.
yeah. Just saying.
Anywho.
So
Like you don't have like a Roku TV?
Anywho, I'm choosing to not waste my time on trying to figure out new apps in the YouTube universe or YouTube TV and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to use what I know. Now, I might be, that's a good example of, I might not be saving money because I bet you're probably going to say it's probably cheaper to do all these apps.
I was literally going to say you're the guy driving to that cheap gas station.
So, in some aspects, I think it's a good example of, it's not in totalness, right? I mean, we all have certain things. Like to me, it's just there, and it's a number that it's whatever our monthly is. It's just I can support it, and it's fine. And I don't want to spend the energy and time when I can spend it on my clients and putting value there. So like there is also a trade-off that we all make on different things, and we do it every day. Like I'm not a big Starbucks guy. I don't drink coffee that much, right? So for example, I'm not in the camp of going and spending $4, $5, $6 on coffee. So it never really pertained to me.
Yeah.
But like, there's umpteen different things that we all deal with throughout a day that we can choose on.
Yeah. And it seems like this extreme frugality is dealing with a lot of pennies, cents, these small little changes you think are going to add up over
That's how I would define the adjective of extreme. But we've talked about this extreme frugality. I want to talk about what the signs are that we would say for extreme. Some of these I think most people agree with, but then again, there's a value proposition to all of these as well. So I wrote some down, and I'm going to kind of talk about them. We can chime in here, okay? Turning away medical care for sake of saving on a copay.
Right.
I would consider that extreme.
That would be extreme.
Okay.
For sure.
Neglecting household or car maintenance. Subjective, in my opinion.
Subjective. A lot of us do it.
Depends
Are
on
we
what
doing
it
that?
is.
Depends on what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you have a blinking red engine light on your car and you're neglecting that because you don't want to pay for it, I mean, you're just asking for trouble on that one.
Yeah. Trying to get 100,000 more miles on ball tires, those kind of things. That's.
Yeah. Buying items extremely on sale just because they are.
Is this girl math?
Oh, I'm 100% girl.
I'm gonna say it depends on what it is.
we didn't even pre-plan that. I was like, you know what I'm thinking,
As soon as
right?
you said that out loud, I'm like, that's
I saw this there and I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
that's 1,000% girl math. I don't chime in if you want to, comment however you want to. You cannot tell me that's not girl math.
It depends on what it is.
No, it doesn't. If you walked in, Target's a great example. Sorry, Veronica and I talk about this all the time. If you walked into Target for one thing and you come out with four, and the statement you come out with says it's on sale, you spent more money than you needed to. It doesn't matter if it's on sale.
But if you were gonna get it anyway,
that's the subjective nature. Were you though? Because you didn't go in there to get it.
Right.
That's the subliminal marketing that basically said you need this, but you really don't need this. That's what they're tricking you on.
no, like if I go to Nordstrom Rack and I'm shopping for a jacket, but then I've also been wanting loafers, and then I see loafers are on sale. I was gonna buy them anyway, but now they're on sale.
But it wasn't top of mind going in there to specifically buy loafers. You didn't need to spend that money.
No, but it was on my list of things that I want.
That's a different story. If it's
There's a ton of things on a list of things that we want in life, whether we need them.
a lot of things on a list.
Indeed, I have a very strong stance on this. Like, by the way, this can go down a
That's
rabbit
why I
hole.
said it depends. It depends.
Okay, look, there's obviously no
Agree to
answer to this.
disagree. That's.
But like, I think men and women will agree to. Now we do it just the same.
I don't.
Yeah, you guys buy hats all the time.
She got you on that
Well,
one.
you buy the shoes. Speaking of,
I love
so.
shoes. That's a fact. There's no doubt about it. And I'm aware of that. But I also save money and put aside. I literally have a shoe fund. It's like my thing.
But when you,
I'm not saying do that, but anyways,
Go down the rabbit
okay,
hole.
here's some more. Skipping on insurance, like basic insurance. I'm not saying you need all lines of insurance, but like
I feel like this is like a rite of passage
for adulthood.
in your like early 20s. Yeah.
I mean, the first insurance you get is always like, what's the basic I have to have?
No, I feel like everyone goes a couple years uninsured, and it's just like,
You're a little dicey. You're risking it.
Yeah.
Now, these last two I really want to focus on. This is where the psychology comes in my opinion, right? So extreme frugal signs when it comes to like how you think your mindset, right, is worrying constantly about money, even though you have a healthy savings and little to no debt.
Yeah, this goes back to our money disorder.
That is now a sign exactly towards a money disorder. You're constantly freaking out, even though mathematically and logically you're looking at it and saying, well, wait a minute. Like, I have money coming in. I have savings that's well over 6 months worth of, if I lost my job, for example, and I have little to no debt. And I'm living within my means. Like, that's when now you start, and this is what I'm trying to tell people, like, now's the time where it's like, okay, my mindset is there. One of the best anecdotes to that, quite honestly, is to invest for yourself. Invest in yourself. The money you're saving that you're kind of worrying about and, like, dare I say, quasi hoarding, right? We need to deploy that. You need to deploy that into investing for your tomorrow self. This is that second step, right?
I would also add, in parallel to that, speaking to somebody about that, why you have that anxiety, that worry. I think that's twofold. If you can put that money forward and be like, okay, I can see this covering me, and then look to the psychology, like you're saying, of that, there's something there you need to address.
Let me tell you loud and clear, as a wealth manager for 23 years, as a human being for 40 years on this planet, that comes from something.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's really important that you explore that. It comes from something. Here's the last one here. Is taking, this is where it gets kind of demonic in a way, or this kind of gets where outside of you.
Demonic.
That's a little
dark.
Yeah. But taking advantage of others to save money, right? Like asking people to dinner just so they can buy, or knowing that they might offer to buy.
Such shady behavior. Please don't be this person.
Or constantly arguing about service at places to try to get free meal. Like this is where it starts taking advantage of others. And I think anytime you start taking advantage of others, it's wrong. So you have to understand, like, you're doing it from the mindset of like, I'm this is how I am, and you don't think like you're doing harm. But that's the same way as an addict saying the same thing. Oh, I'm only doing this to myself. I'm not doing harm to others. You got to be careful.
Well, like, I'm putting this on the big corporation. They're not missing anything.
Yeah,
whereas, like,
that's wrong.
It's wrong. You shouldn't have to be an immoral human being to save money or build wealth or get rich.
Yeah,
that should never equate.
Do you guys struggle with this?
Using people for money?
No. Well, hope not.
Jeez, what do you think?
No. Sorry, it was a bad.
It's a really good transition.
A bad transition.
That's segueing me.
But in general, this we've talked a lot today about frugality, frugalness, extreme frugalness. You guys struggle with this?
Extreme, no. I think I was raised in my father is that frugal, borderline cheap. Sorry, Dad. But
yeah,
I think when you're raised with the mindset of that, of
you carry that with you.
I don't know, we don't need a phone in this house, or these kind of things where, like, when you're younger, that just gets in your bones.
It does. What about you? Younger generations, say you?
Yeah, say me. I think I can tend to be frugal, but I don't think I cross in the extreme. I think Dylan actually might like cross in the extreme sometimes. Like when the boys moved into our house, they would only get furniture from like off the side of the road. Like they refused to buy anything. And then
for guys, it does kind of it's a little bit of a game too.
I know, I was like that younger. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But then like diseases, I don't know.
No, 100%. We're not thinking about health codes.
Viruses, bacteria.
Yeah,
like
none of that.
holes
Lysol,
in all of his clothes.
Lysol cans on my college dorm.
And I'll have to like throw those away.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Why did you get rid of that? It's perfectly fine." I'm like, no, it's not. You know what I mean? So I do think guys kind of have a weirder, not weirder, but like maybe struggle with it more, or like cross over into that a little bit more.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I could also see this, like, the older generations dealing with this more, in my mind, because you always have there
was a ton of uncertainty in early
the
generations.
Depression era people
100%.
that were taught this are now, like, you have a lot of elderly people, baby boomers now dying with millions in the bank that were living in trailers and in squalor.
Something I talk about all the time in my practice, we have to remember that we're only 2 generations away from the Great Depression era, meaning most of us in our 40s and 50s right now were raised by parents who were kids of Great Depression era kids. Think about that for a second. That's only 2 generations, meaning what they carried into the 50s and 60s when our parents were born, for example, right, came from the 20s and very big uncertainties, world wars, literally. So you have a lot of generational things going on.
No, these were ration. I mean, they grew up rationing was normal. Yeah. That was every day for decades.
I'm going to pause you because, ironically, Gen Z is actually the most frugal generation today. And
says who?
The study that I found.
What study?
It is surprising.
Says them.
From who? What's the study?
Name them.
Name them now.
It's Business Insider and NASDAQ.com.
Respect. That's legit.
Okay, fine. Continue.
Gen
Z is the
most frugal generation today. We have embraced secondhand, prioritizing value due to financial pressures, economic consciousness, and digital savvy.
I hope that that's true, but I don't think it's true for the reasons those points were interesting to me.
I'll give it this, though. I will say.
But hey, stats wise, if it is, it's
if
great.
We had the greatest generation, super extreme frugalness because they were raised that way. The ones after, kind of the boomers, and then us, we were more
Gen X are the biggest spenders.
Excess. Now it's coming back to they're seeing our excess and being so. I believe that it's coming back down.
We also saw
That's true.
Like the crash of like 2008. Like we lost our house when I was a kid from 2008. So I think there's stuff like that have played into it.
Fair. Well, good.
That's fair.
One thing we liked about is that like jazz hands?
Look,
No,
I think
like
we're all. I'm taking a little bit harsher stance just because we're kind of more joking around it. But like I get like that it can be, but the statement that it's the most frugal, it's hard for me when we have the greatest generation that was literally no credit cards.
No, they're not that level, but
you know what I mean. Now, the question we posed on today's episode was whether extreme frugality was a wealth builder or a life destroyer. I think extreme frugality, if we want to label it, now that we've gone through it, is more of a life destroyer. Seems dramatic, but a not a life enhancer. And I think that needs to be looked at if you have this. I think frugality, remove the word extreme for a second, being mindful with your money, can be a wealth builder if you provide the second step, which is you're not getting locked up in the extreme OCD of the security, the control, the identity, and you actually place dollars that you're being frugal with into things, investing for yourself and for your family in the future. That will build wealth. It's been studied. It's factually out there. That will build wealth.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me after this conversation, frugality is wise, extreme, unwise, detrimental to your life.
Extreme frugality is way more of a psychiatric OCD thing than it is anything else. And I really think that needs to be talked about if you do have that.
Yeah.
Because there's something that you need to talk through there.
But this won't help you build wealth any faster, any better.
That side of it won't.
Yeah. I mean, the Bible talks a lot about being frugal and being smart with you, but it also warns against being extreme with it. I just wanted to share this. In Proverbs 11 and 28, it warns against those who hoard and withhold as it leads to poverty. So even 2,000 years ago, they understood that mentality will lead you
it's good.
not to riches or wealth, but to poverty.
It's really good. Yeah. And look, Proverbs was written by Solomon, who at the time was the richest man that ever lived.
Right.
So you got to understand, this is a guy with extreme wealth, right? Writing things around, be careful of frugality, extreme frugality. Be careful of hoarding.
Yeah.
That becomes more of a psychological thing that I really just want to employ you guys. Talk to somebody about that. That's extreme. Yeah. And this whole idea, people throw in frugality and they lump it all together in one. Like if you're frugal, like you're this extreme frugal, like no, you can be labeled frugal and still have a mindset towards growth. I think that people don't look at that. And I think that can build wealth. That's basic economic structure of live within your means and invest the difference.
Yeah.
Hey, hope you guys enjoyed that today. We did. As always, for those of our subscribers, thank you for watching. We love you guys. We're coming out with new content every single week. If you're new to our channel, thank you. We come out with great content every week about a lot of different fun aspects, and we love you guys. And as always, look, we head into this week. We're leading with love. It's going to be all right. See you guys. There's my pen. I knew I had it somewhere.
You should have 5 pens up there.
I do, but I want specific pens.
Yeah, you left another one behind last week.
Yeah,
it's over there somewhere.
Have another one?
I felt like you had 5 of your little pens up there.
I probably do.
What's the brand?
Uniball Onyx.
Onyx.
I want to be sponsored with them. The only pen that Brad uses. Hit me up, Uniball.
Do you want to be successful?
Do you want to be successful? Use the Onyx pen. It's the only pen that I swear by.
Write your doodles.
Write your doodles just like me.
Who writes anymore?